Okay, one of the things I'm going to do here first is I need to remove some rust from some parts. So I'm going to build an electrolysis tank. If you're not familiar with that, it's a way of electronically removing rust from metal that won't damage the metal in any way. There's lots of videos on it, including the dangers of hydrogen gas and so on. So I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to tell you what I've done here. First, I bought this IBC tote for $50. Sometimes you can find these for free. I paid $50 for this, but I got the guy that had it to deliver it to me, and it was worth that to save me the 30-minute drive each way. So anyway, I've got $50 in this IBC tote. This particular tote had a concrete curing compound in it, but the guy that had it, I believe he told me they used this for soil stabilization after grading. It is a waxy-like substance. It's water soluble. It's basically titanium dioxide, which is used in all kinds of products, including food coloring. So the first thing I did is I took the lid off, drilled a hole, put this bolt in it, wrapped a wire around it, put a marker on the wire so I could draw a relatively smooth circle. You could just take a Sawzall and start whacking the top off, but I wanted a round circle to use to actually support this rear differential when I stand it up in the solution. So I drew that out and then used a jigsaw and cut it. And then I drilled a total of 8 holes. These are 1/2-inch holes that go, I've got one in each corner and then one in the middle of each section. I went to the local box store and bought some rebar, and I got some washers, and I welded the washers onto the rebar. I needed the washer to keep the rebar from sliding down in too far, and I wanted it to hang just a little bit off the bottom. It's just barely, maybe 1/2 inch off the bottom of the tank, and then this will be where I'll attach my electrodes to. You can save some money on the rebar if you buy longer lengths, like 20-foot lengths. If you buy shorter lengths, like 4-footers, they charge almost double per foot. So if you've got the means to haul a 20-footer and to cut it to length, then that's probably the way to go. I paid $49 for 8 pieces of 1/2-inch steel rebar, and the washers weren't hardly anything. This tank has an outlet on it, including a shutoff valve. It comes with a black cap to cap it off. For $12 off Amazon, I got a pack of 2 of these. I can just unscrew the black cap on the tank, screw one of these on, and then a garden hose will attach to this cap for draining. I bought some wire off Amazon. It's 12 gauge. It was 2 conductor. I got 10 feet of it. So there's 10 feet of red and 10 feet of black. I was able to use just the red wire. And then I also bought these battery type alligator clamps. They came as a pack of 20, 10 red and 10 black. I had to use some of the black clamps, but these are my leads that are going to connect all these electrodes around the outside of the tank. I've had this bucket on the shelf for years. A friend gave it to me. He went to pick something up and grabbed the wrong item and gave this to me thinking I might be able to use it. It's sodium carbonate, which is washing soda 100%, and this will work even though it's gotten hard. It will work for what I need. For the electrical charge, I'm using a battery charger. This was a gift to me from my mother-in-law when my father-in-law passed away. So again, I have no money in it. Total, I have about $124 in this setup, and hopefully it'll derust a lot of parts for me. The first thing I plan to derust are my leaf springs out of the Nova. I spent a lot of time this morning getting the rubber bushings out. I've got the old bushings out, and I know some people take leaf springs apart, use a wire brush on them or sandblast them, whatever, but I'm going to leave them together and put them in the electrolysis tank and see how that does. Once those are done, I want to do this forward 8.8 rear diff, especially the center section. I will be cutting the ends off to weld 9-inch ends on, but I want to get that center section derusted, especially so I can weld the tubes to the center of the differential. The formula I found online for this electrolysis solution is 1 tablespoon of the washing soda for every gallon of water. I've got a 275 gallon tank, so if I fill this completely full, I would need about 8 pounds of the washing soda. Most people do much smaller items, much smaller tanks, so they use, much smaller quantities of the washing soda. If you use too much, it doesn't do anything other than waste the soda. If you use too little, it slows down the process. I'm the type of guy, I don't want to slow down the process. I would rather waste the soda, and washing soda is cheap. So I've got a full 8 pounds in here. I used that 5-gallon bucket and then got some more and put in here. I'm going to fill this thing mostly full of water, and then I'm going to get my leaf springs ready to suspend into the solution. Okay, my free battery charger didn't work, so I've got a 12-volt power supply for a ham radio set up, and that's what I'm using. Don't know if you can see the movement here or not. The stuff floating on top is part of that wax, even though I pressure washed this tank, there was still some of that wax in it, and that's floating on top. But I think hopefully you should see the movement of the water there. I am getting movement from, especially around the electrodes. You can see the current going through it. It is working. When I first turned it on, what you could see was some movement of the water around the sacrificial electrodes. Now I don't see that so much anymore, but I am getting some bubbling, and the stuff you see floating on top is some of the wax that was originally in this. I don't know how that's going to affect it. I did power wash this tank out, but obviously I didn't get all the wax out. But the water's starting, I don't know if you can see, but there is a brownish or rusty tint to it. So I do believe it's working, and we're just going to give it some time. We're going to give it a day or two and see what we have here. I should get a rusty bubbly froth on top, is what I should have, and when I scrape that off, I should hopefully be able to get this wax off the top as well. I'll give you an update on how this turns out in a few days. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. God bless.